Discover the miraculous journey of Joshua. 7 divine battles revealed for your transforming faith. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, as the sun rose gently over the banks of the Jordan River, Joshua stood, poised to fulfill the divine calling bestowed upon him by Moses. The golden rays refracted off the water's surface, yet beneath lay a torrent, a fierce current that whispered tales of uncertainty and promise. "Be strong and courageous," rang the echoes of God's command in his ears. Gathering the people of Israel, their faces mixed with hope and trepidation, Joshua proclaimed, "O children of promise, behold, today we tread upon the ground that our ancestors longed to enter." With the weight of leadership heavy on his shoulders, he raised his staff, the symbol of God's guidance, and directed the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant to step into the rushing river. As their feet made contact with the water, a miracle unfolded. The mighty waters halted and a path of dry ground emerged. The faithful remnant gasped in awe, understanding that their God fought for them, delivering them across the river to the land promised to their forefathers. Having crossed, they camped at Gilgal, where God commanded Joshua to renew the covenant through circumcision. As the pain of the rite mingled with the joy of renewal, it marked the new generation, solidifying their identity as God's chosen people. Vulnerability met with strength, and they were reminded that obedience to God bound them together as a community. Days passed, and the march toward Jericho began. The towering walls loomed ominously, yet Joshua, remembering the Lord's promises, whispered to himself, "The Lord goes before us." With preparation complete, the Israelite army encircled the city, a plan unfolding that defied all strategy. With trumpets raised high, the shouts of the people echoed, obeying God's directive. On the 7th day, with a mighty roar, the walls trembled and crumbled, victory granted by the faith of Israel. However, shadows of doubt soon gripped the hearts of the people during their next battle at Ai. Following a grave misstep, defeat left Joshua in anguish, lamenting before the Lord in prayer. "How could they falter when we are chosen?" he questioned, his heart heavy. Yet amid darkness, God provided clarity, instructing him to analyze their actions. Joshua found strength through introspection, realizing this moment fortified their resolve. As they advanced through battle after battle, against Gibeon and the kings of the south, God's omnipotent hand manifested through miracles. One fateful day, as the sun descended over Gibeon, Joshua cried out, "Sun, stand still." By faith, he commanded the heavens, and in response it halted, granting them the light needed for total triumph. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Yet deep within, the challenges continued to test Joshua's faith. Would he remain steadfast as the clouds of uncertainty lingered in his mind? Each encounter brought trials that inspired a deeper reliance on God's unfailing promises. Chosen and called, Joshua knew their journey had just begun. His heart beat with a fervent declaration, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." But would the people remember the covenant amid the looming trials? Joshua stood at the forefront of faith, seeking divine resolution within the sacred tapestry of God's unfolding plan. What new battles would lie ahead, and how would their faith sustain them when the dawn of challenge broke? The story was just beginning, echoing the depths of God's intricate design waiting to reveal itself. And it came to pass, after the great victories against the kings of the south, that a whisper of unease spread through the camp of Israel. While the Lord had led them to triumph, doubts began to awaken in the hearts of the people. They spoke amongst themselves, "What shall we do next? The land is vast and many nations dwell within it. Can we conquer them all?" Joshua gathered the leaders and set before them the tales of their victories, recounting how the Lord had delivered them from every foe. Yet, amidst the remembrances, He felt a stirring within his spirit, an urgency to seek the Lord's counsel anew. He withdrew to a quiet place at the foot of a great oak tree and sought God with fervent prayers. As he prayed, the voice of the Lord came to him, saying, "Joshua, set your eyes upon the land of Canaan. Your enemies are numerous, and their hearts are hardened against me. You shall encounter their fortified cities and mighty men of valor. Yet I have given you this land for an inheritance, a promise sworn to your forefathers." Strengthened by this divine reassurance, Joshua returned to the assembly. "Fear not," he proclaimed, "for the Lord our God is with us. He shall go before us, just as he has done in the past. We will conquer the cities of Canaan, starting this day with the city of Hazor." Preparing for this new conflict, Joshua sent spies to explore the land of Hazor. The keen-eyed men returned with a report of its formidable defenses, saying, "The walls of Hazor are high, and the king is fierce, yet with courage we can take it." With resolve, Joshua rallied the people, fervently urging them to remember their covenant with the Lord. Today we trust in God's promise and move forward in faith. As they approached Hazor, the atmosphere grew heavy with anticipation. The city rose before them, a complex of towers and mighty walls glistening in the sun. Yet Joshua was undeterred. He recalled the Lord's instruction, "For the battle is not yours, but the Lord's." The armies of Israel surrounded the city, standing steadfast in formation. On the appointed day, Joshua called upon the name of the Lord. "O Lord, grant us victory this day," he cried out. "Let your name be exalted above the heavens." With the sound of trumpets and the shouts of the people, the earth seemed to tremble as heaven descended upon the battlefield. And just as God had promised, confusion engulfed Hazor. The defending warriors turned against each other, their cries mingling in a cacophony of despair. Joshua and his men charged forth, the gates of the city wide open before them. Victory was swift, and the people rejoiced, recognizing they stood on sacred ground blessed by the hand of God. Yet amidst their triumph, a shadow loomed. For in the heart of Hazor lingered remnants of rebellion. An enemy that would not yield easily would soon arise from the ashes of defeat. And so the dust of victory settled, but the path forward was veiled in mystery. With each step deeper into the land flowing with milk and honey, Joshua pondered silently, what greater dangers await? What is this plan of the Almighty? Little did he know, a greater challenge lay on the horizon, waiting to unfold in the tapestry of God's sovereign will, revealing the depth of his purpose intertwined with their unfolding destiny. And it came to pass. As the sun rose upon the horizon, casting its golden glow over the conquered city of Hazor, the people of Israel felt the weight of their triumph mingled with the fear of what was yet to come. Joshua, filled with the faithfulness of God, called for the leaders once more. "Hear me, brethren," he proclaimed, "for the Lord hath given us this land, yet we must make ready, for there are many cities and powerful kings yet to face." The hearts of the Israelites stirred, and they listened intently as Joshua shared the strategy that had been laid upon his heart. "We shall divide our forces, sending an army towards the north, while another goes south. We will strike swiftly, for the Lord shall fight for us, and our enemies will be caught unawares." As the tribes prepared for the division, a heaviness crept into the hearts of some. What if these victories were but a fleeting moment? They murmured beneath their breath. Yet Joshua reminded them, "Have we not seen the hand of God move mightily among us? Remember the parting of the waters and the fall of Jericho. We must remain steadfast in faith." Thus they gathered their weapons and food, and with the Ark of the Covenant at the forefront they set forth on their mission. Their feet, ordained by God's promise, pressed down upon the earth that was to be their inheritance. Each step echoed the covenant made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as they ventured into deeper territories. As they neared their next target, the city of Lachish, whispers of its fortifications reached them. It was said that the city was a stronghold, a place imbued with ancient magics, and fortified by a king whose reputation for war was known far and wide. Joshua, sensing the fear rising amongst his warriors, once again sought the counsel of God. By the banks of a nearby stream he fell to his knees, crying out, "O Lord, hear my prayer. Do not let our hearts falter before the might of Lachish. Grant us wisdom, O sovereign God, as we face our adversary." The heavens responded with a sudden clear peace that washed over him, and he stood renewed. "Go, my brothers," Joshua declared to his men as he returned from his prayer. "For the Lord has spoken. He shall deliver this city into our hands. Let us march forth, for he shall confound our enemies and lay waste to their strongholds, just as he did before." And so they began the siege of Lachish. For 7 days the dust of warfare rose high as the shouting and blaring of trumpets filled the air. The people of Lachish, seized with panic, saw their fortifications become faltering barriers. On the 7th day, Joshua commanded silence, allowing the stillness of the moment to hang heavy, laden with divine expectancy. Then with a great shout the people of Israel cried out, "For the Lord and for his promises." And just as the walls of Jericho fell, so did Lachish yield to the power of the Almighty. The city fell, its king taken captive, and the inhabitants trembled at the relentless hand of the God of Israel. As the victory was celebrated, a dark whisper brushed through the camp, for it was known that other kings had assembled forces in the valleys, preparing for retaliation. Little did Joshua know that a great coalition against Israel would soon unleash vengeance from the north. "Have courage," he declared to the people, even as the shadows lengthened before them. "For our God is a consuming fire, and they shall know that we are his chosen people." In the midst of their celebration, God's plans were unfolding, mighty and profound. Yet the challenges ahead would reveal not just the strength of nations, but the depth of Israel's faith. As dawn approached, darkness loomed, hinting at the fierce trials that awaited, for every victory heralded the storm of greater testing. And so the people pondered, what awaits us now in the unfolding tapestry of God's sovereign will? And it came to pass after the fall of Lachish that Joshua turned his eyes northward. He knew his mission was not yet complete, for the land was vast and filled with many strongholds. In the land of Canaan, the report came to him that a coalition of kings gathered in the plains of Gibeon conspired against Israel, trembling at the strength of their God. Then Joshua sought the Lord once more, for the heart of the people grew restless with the news of impending war. "O Lord," he cried out, "thou who art mighty to save, grant us clarity and courage as we face these collective adversaries." The Lord answered him with a whisper of confidence, saying, "I will deliver them into your hand. Fear not, for they shall be as chaff before the wind." Taking this word to heart, Joshua called the men of war and said, "Prepare your hearts, for we are to march against the kings of Canaan and consume the land promised to us. Unite your voices and lift praises to our God, for he shall go before us." As the armies gathered, the numbers of their foes came into view. 5 kings of the Amorites had allied against Israel: Adonizedek of Jerusalem, Hoham of Hebron, Piram of Jarmuth, Japhia of Lachish, and Deborah of Eglon. The surrounding hills echoed with the thundering of their mighty chariots and shouts of valor. But the children of Israel stood resolute, for the Lord was their shield and their fortress. The armies set forth under the cover of darkness, a whispering wind guiding their steps, for God had ordained their ascent. As dawn broke upon the horizon, the Israelites ambushed their enemies, catching them unprepared. They charged forth with cries of the covenant ringing in their hearts, "For the Lord our God leads us." The battle commenced, and fierce was the conflict as the sound of swords clashing reverberated through the valley. But as the day wore on, the Israelites found themselves outnumbered yet undeterred, driven by faith and the surety of the Lord's promise. In the midst of battle, Joshua lifted his voice, crying out to the Lord, "O sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon." The heavens responded as a sign of divine favor. The sun halted and light remained steadfast, granting victory to the children of Israel, that they might extinguish their foes. The 5 kings were taken captive, hidden in a cave at Makkedah, trembling in fear of the falling hand of God. Joshua commanded his men, saying, "Roll great stones to the mouth of the cave and set watchmen upon it, until this day of reckoning be past." With each defeat, the legend of Israel's God spread like wildfire throughout the land. The nations trembled, for their gods were as nothing before the might of the God of Israel. As they returned to the encampment, wearied yet triumphant, the stories of God's greatness echoed through the hearts of the Israelite warriors. But even as the celebration ensued, murmurs of darker omens loomed on the horizon. For the land was vast, and in every victory laid seeds of new strife. "What will become of us?" some whispered, eyes glancing towards the future uncharted. Yet Joshua inspired hope, reminding them, "Remember the words of the Lord, for he has promised to bring us into a land flowing with milk and honey." Thus, as they gathered around the flames at nightfall, the fire crackled and sparked into the air, reflecting their collective spirit and resolve. And beneath the blanket of stars, a weighty question beckoned from the depths of their souls. What more does the Lord intend for his faithful people? And as they pondered this, deep within the heart of God's unfolding plan, a new challenge awaited, heralding the continuation of his grand narrative. A narrative where faith would be tested and promises fulfilled beyond what they could fathom. And it came to pass that on the morrow, Joshua rose early in the morning and gathered all the men of Israel. His countenance shone with the light of the triumph they had just witnessed, yet the shadows of the unknown loomed heavily upon his spirit. "Gather round, O warriors of the Lord," he proclaimed, "for our victory is but the beginning of a greater purpose. We have taken the kings of the Amorites captive, but the land still holds strongholds that must be brought low." As the commanders and warriors assembled, Joshua divided them into units. He spoke earnestly of the importance of unity and faithfulness in their endeavor, saying, "The Lord our God is not a man that he should lie. Every promise he has made shall be fulfilled. Go forth to the city of Makkedah, for these kings shall see the justice of God through your hands." With unwavering resolve, the armies of Israel marched to the cave where the kings were secured. As they approached, a solemnity fell over the host, for they realized the import of the moment. Joshua commanded his mighty men, "Bring forth the kings of Canaan." And as they did, the fear of the Lord fell upon all those who witnessed it. The captives, once bold in their pride, now trembled at the strength of the God of Israel revealed through his people. The 5 kings were brought forth and laid prostrate before Joshua, and he addressed them with deep clarity. "You have conspired against the people of God. The blood of the innocent cries out from this land, and the time of reckoning has come." Turning to those who stood nearby, he continued, "Let this be a sign unto all nations. These men chose to rise against the Lord's anointed, and thus shall they suffer." The mouths of the kings were bound, their heads cast low, and the warriors of Israel felt a holy weight as they carried out Joshua's command. Stones were taken from the riverbed, and a great pile was raised in the sight of all, a testament to the sovereignty of God. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the land, a murmur of lament and reverence filled the air. Each warrior, resolved in heart, lifted their gaze heavenward, remembering the promises of the Lord. With the kings conquered, Joshua beheld the land stretched before him, rich and abundant, calling for sanctification. "We will claim every promised inch," he declared, invigorated by the presence of God, who fought for them. Yet still, a stirring uneasiness stirred within Joshua's heart. He knew the battle was far from over, for soon word would spread, igniting the fears and desires of other nations. Though victory had come, others would rise against them. As they prepared to move forward, a messenger arrived from the land of Gibeon, the Gibeonites having fashioned themselves as envoys, clothed in rags and filled with deceit. "O Joshua," they pleaded, "we have come from a far land, for we have heard of your mighty hand and the greatness of your God. Make a covenant with us, for we are on the verge of annihilation from your march." Joshua's spirit was troubled. The eyes of the Gibeonites reflected a crafty desperation, and he could sense they were not who they appeared to be. He turned to the elders and inquired, "Shall we seek the counsel of the Lord before making peace with those who would deceive?" And as the Israelites assembled, a divine hush enveloped the battlefield, for the consequences of this decision could alter the course of Israel's destiny. The Lord had shown favor in battle, Yet now the choice before them bore the weight of years yet to be unfolded, revealing deeper layers of God's divine purpose and the unfolding mystery of faith. What would they choose? And what was the Gibeonites' true intent? Thus the stage was set for new trials that would reveal the heavy hand of God in ways unforeseen, intertwining their fate in the sacred narrative of his people. And it came to pass that Joshua called upon the elders of Israel, their faces etched with the gravity of his inquiry. Brothers, let us seek the counsel of the Lord, for not all who come to us in need bear honest intent. Let us not be ensnared by guile. With a solemnity that hung thick in the air, the elders withdrew to the tabernacle, where the ark of the covenant rested in the midst of the camp. There they offered sacrifices unto the Lord, crying out, O God of our fathers, illuminate the path before us. Grant us wisdom to discern the truth amidst the lies. As the smoke of their offerings ascended, a cool breeze swept through the veil of the tabernacle, and the voice of the Lord resonated within the hearts of those assembled. Joshua, you must not forge a covenant with those who would deceive you, for I have called Israel to purge the land of its wickedness. The Gibeonites are cunning in their schemes, fearing the might of my hand revealed among you. Returning to the warriors who awaited his command, Joshua's heart burned with the weight of divine revelation. He stood before the Gibeonites, who watched with expectant eyes, feigning helplessness. Tell me, O men of Gibeon, from whence have you come? His voice rang out steadfast and authoritative. With trembling, the Gibeonites responded, We are your servants, come from a distant land, for we have heard of the great wonders the Lord your God has performed. We seek peace, for our cities are doomed. Yet the spirit within Joshua discerned their deceit, and he asked them, How shall I know you speak the truth? For you dwell near us. Why have you not come to us directly, but instead cloaked yourselves in rags? The leaders of the Gibeonites began to tremble, and one of them, standing with a voice quivering yet bold, replied, Our fear for your people has driven us to this disguise. We have seen your victories, and we know that the Lord is with you. We are but the remnants of a dying line, and we beseech you to save us. Hearing their words, Joshua pondered deeply, and he turned once more to the assembly. The hearts of the Israelite warriors were inflamed, for the prospect of saving a people remained a weighty matter. What say you, men of Israel? Shall we offer our protection, or will we heed the counsel of the Lord against the crafty? The assembly was torn, for the specter of mercy lingered in their hearts. Yet Joshua knew that their decision would reverberate through the ages, shaping the destiny of them and their descendants. Resolutely he spoke, We shall not forge a covenant with them, for the Lord has commanded us to drive out all wickedness from this land. But amidst this tension, a voice emerged from among the priests, saying, Yet if they will serve us, let them abide. They shall not be destroyed, but made our servants for the service of the sanctuary. Thus Joshua weighed this suggestion carefully, sensing the providence of God stirring through their midst. He remembered the words of the Lord, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. With a deep breath, he resolved, Let it be so. We shall spare their lives. Yet they shall be bondmen within our dwellings, laboring in service unto our God. In this moment, the Gibeonites fell prostrate at Joshua's feet, grateful for the mercy shown. Little did they know that this act would intertwine their fates with the chosen people of God, birthing a legacy rooted in the heart of divine purpose. As the sun began to set, streaking the sky with colors of crimson and gold, Joshua felt a stirring of the spirit within him, for he understood that this merciful act would unfold into the hidden depths of God's greater plan. What future did the Lord hold for the Gibeonites among his people? And how would this choice echo through generations, revealing the tapestry of God's salvation unfolding before them? With heavy hearts yet hopeful spirits, the Israelites prepared to move forward, their eyes fixed not merely on the battles that lay ahead, but on the promises of the one who had delivered them from darkness into light. And it came to pass that as the dusk deepened into night, Joshua summoned the leaders of the Israelite tribes to gather by the campfire. Flames danced in the dark, illuminating their solemn faces. Brothers, he proclaimed, today we have dealt with wisdom, yet our journey is far from complete. The Lord has commanded us not only to save the Gibeonites, but to prepare ourselves for the trials ahead. The leaders listened intently, their hearts stirred as Joshua continued. We are called to conquer the land before us. The battles of Jericho, Ai, and beyond await. The Lord your God will go before us. He is our strength in the face of our enemies. So it was that as they feasted upon the roasted lamb and unleavened bread, Joshua shared the words of the Lord. When we draw our swords, we do not fight by might or power, but by the Spirit of the Lord, for he is our banner. His presence shall lead us into victory. Meanwhile, the Gibeonites, who had heard the promises and felt the weight of mercy, gathered in their own encampment. Among them, one of their leaders, a man named Hoham, pondered deeply. What if our lives become service unto the God of Israel? Might we too partake in his grace? His heart burned with a desire to see the hand of the Lord move not just among the Israelites, but within their own lineage. Days passed, and the sun rose upon the first of their appointed battles. The Israelites began their march to Ai, guided by Joshua, whose heart was set firm upon the Lord's instruction. Be strong and courageous, he urged, for the Lord has given into our hands the city and its king. Yet as they prepared for conflict, a messenger arrived from Ai, declaring great confidence in their strength. We shall not fear the might of your people, for our walls are strong and our spirits high. His boast echoed across the valley, instilling doubts in the hearts of some. But Joshua, undeterred, turned to the Lord in prayer at the edge of the camp. O Lord, shall we go up against them? What shall be our destiny? As he sought divine clarity, the Lord spoke, Fear not, for I am with you, but you must purify your camp, for sin has crept among you. In that instant Joshua understood that one among them had transgressed, and retribution must be served. He called the assembly, presenting the matter as each man's heart grew heavy with uncertainty. Who among us has turned from the path of righteousness? With trembling hands, Achan of the tribe of Judah stepped forth, confessing his sin. I have taken of the devoted things, he admitted, and hid them in my tent. The weight of his words fell like lead upon the gathered scores. The enormity of his choice pierced their resolve, for in moments of personal weakness, a chain of consequence rippled through the congregation. Joshua, in his righteousness, sought the counsel of the Lord once more, and the judgment was pronounced. For the sake of the Israelite people, the sin must be purged. The leaders rallied, uniting the tribes as they took upon themselves the solemn task of purification. After the sin was dealt with, they prepared once again to face Ai, and through fervent prayer and the blessing of the Lord, Joshua felt renewed strength to lead his people. In that very moment, the Lord's voice rose above the noise of uncertain hearts. You have sought and found the root of your struggle. As you rise up now, remember, it is not by armies, but by faith and steadfastness that your steps shall lead to victory. So they encamped before the city, hearts aligned with divine purpose, ready to confront the enemies that had taunted them. For it was in the midst of their trials, Joshua knew, God's final plan was still unfolding, swirling like the colors of the setting sun, revealing great mysteries yet to be seen. What grace awaited at the end of their path? What surprises lay hidden in the depths of their allegiance and obedience? The answers awaited them just beyond the horizon of battle, beckoning them toward unwavering faith. And it came to pass on the day of the confrontation that the sun rose over Ai, casting long shadows upon the land. Joshua, imbued with the Spirit of the Lord, summoned all the people. He addressed them with a voice that echoed with authority and determination. Children of Israel, gird your loins. Today the Lord shall deliver Ai into our hands. With hearts ablaze, the warriors of Israel prepared for battle, each one bearing the banner of their tribe. Joshua directed their formation, reminding them of their covenant with God, saying, Remember the mighty works he has done. We are not alone. The host of heaven accompanies us. As they approached the city, Joshua sent forth spies to survey its defenses. When they returned, they spoke of the fortified walls and the fierce inhabitants. They are proud, believing themselves secure within their walls, one reported. But we stand upon the promise of the living God. Then it was that the Lord spoke again to Joshua. Do not fear their numbers or their strength. I have given the city into your hand. You shall encircle it, and on the seventh day shout with great joy." Joshua, filled with resolve, instructed the people, "We shall march around the city once a day for 6 days, and on the 7th day we will circle it 7 times. Then we shall shout, for the Lord has given us the victory." And so in obedience, the people began the march around Ai. The sound of their feet drummed upon the earth, a holy rhythm of faith countering the taunts of the people of Ai. Day by day they encircled the city, watching the inhabitants grow anxious and fearful at the sight of the unwavering procession. On the 7th day the dawn broke with a sense of impending glory. As they began their 7th turn, Joshua commanded them to be silent, prepared in heart and soul for the moment of divine revelation. On the final circle he cried out, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." A great chorus of voices erupted, resonating through the valley and reaching the heavens. The walls of Ai trembled, then gave way, crashing to the ground with a deafening noise. In that moment, the earth seemed to rejoice in the manifestation of God's glory and power. The Israelites rushed into the city, and victory was swift. They defeated the inhabitants, fulfilling what the Lord had declared. In their triumph, they gathered the spoils, mindful to remember the promise of the God who brought them through the battle. But in the midst of their celebration, Joshua felt an urgency rise within him. He commanded them, "Let us not forget the condition of our covenant. The Gibeonites, our allies, are to be preserved. Protect them, for they too are part of his great plan." And so the Israelites honored their pledge to the Gibeonites, forging a bond that would echo through generations. Little did they know, the sovereign hand of God was weaving a tapestry of deliverance far greater than their eyes could see. In this victory the people rejoiced, but within their hearts lingered a holy anticipation. For as they stood in the aftermath of triumph over Ai, they sensed a whisper among them. What greater battles yet await? What deeper wisdom must we seek? And as they looked toward the horizon, it became clear. Victories were not just victories but signs pointing toward a greater promise, divine intervention reaching toward unimaginable glory. Thus did the echoes of their faith resound, and the mysteries of God's plan began to unfurl, inviting them ever deeper into his sovereign purpose. And it came to pass after the fall of Ai, that the hearts of the Israelites burned with zeal, and their spirits were lifted high toward the heavens. They stood, a mighty host, gazing upon the remnants of their conquest, glorying in the power of the Almighty, who had not forsaken them. Joshua, beholding the fruitful land beyond the smoldering ruins, sensed a course yet unwritten. "Gather unto me the elders," he commanded. And they came forth, humbled by the recent victory and eager for the wisdom he would impart. "Behold, the Lord hath shown us the way, but our journey is far from completed. Many lands remain untouched, and many peoples yet to be subdued in the name of our God." As Joshua spoke, the sound of murmurs and stirring filled the air, for the people understood the gravity of his words. "We must not merely bask in this glory," he continued, "but arise with urgency, for the Lord has ordained us for more battles yet to fight." Thus did Joshua lead the people to elevate their hearts in prayer, seeking counsel from the Lord. They waited upon him in the stillness, and soon the voice of God thundered in their midst. "Arise, go forth unto the land of Canaan. I shall hand over to you the cities of the Amorites, the Hittites, and all the heathen round about." With fervent spirits the children of Israel prepared themselves, arming for the next move ordained by the divine hand. They were to ascend the hills of Hebron, a place called Kiriath Arba, where the giants of the land dwelled, confident in their prowess. "Fear not," Joshua encouraged them, "for the Lord thy God goes before you to fight for you against your enemies." As they marched forth, they encountered the formidable walls of Hebron. The inhabitants, stirred by tales of Israel's conquests, trembled at the name of their God. Word spread among them like wildfire. The Israelites are come, and their God fights with them. Yet as they approached, there arose a challenge unexpected. The enmity of the native kings increased, and they assembled in their strength, seeking counsel on how to withstand the tide of Israel. Upon a mount called Gibeon, they decided to strike first, their determination writ large against the azure sky. But Joshua, his heart set upon the Almighty, led the men of Israel to stand firm. "We shall trust even in numbers. The victories of yesterday are our hopes today. He lifted his eyes to the heavens, and in that moment the Lord responded, I shall deliver them into your hands, fear not, for the battle is mine. In the ensuing clamor of battle, Israel fought valiantly, their faith and unity as unbreakable as iron. As swords clashed and arrows flew, they called upon the name above all names, and the heavens seemed to echo with their cries. God provided them victory, driving their enemies back upon themselves until they fell like autumn leaves before the wind. And just when the hour seemed bleak, the Lord commanded the sun to stand still, as it is written, and there was no day like that before it or after it. Joshua 10:14. The day stretched forth, allowing the Israelites to endure and claim the land promised unto their forefathers. Yet as they surveyed the aftermath of the battle, a shadow of uncertainty crept among the people. They had secured victory, but they felt within them a stirring of knowledge. This conquest, this mighty hand at work, was leading towards something greater. A God of wonders has revealed himself, Joshua declared, raising his arms to the heavens. But who among us has yet seen the fullness of his glory? Thus did the Israelites ponder in their hearts, caught in the divine tension of victory and anticipation. What more, they wondered, might lie ahead? What further revelations awaited them as they marched deeper into the unknown, guided by the sovereign hand of God? In the twilight of their journey, as the sun dipped gracefully behind the mountains, Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel at Shechem, a place rich with history and divine encounter. Their victories at Jericho, Ai, Lachish, and Gibeon etched upon their hearts, they stood as a unified people, tangled in the beauty of God's promises and the weight of the challenges still ahead. Brothers and sisters, he called out, his voice steady and profound. We have traveled far on this path of obedience. The Lord has fought for us, but it is time to renew our covenant and to commit our lives afresh before the one true God. The elders approached, their hearts ignited by a reverence that filled the air. Joshua, taking a stone in his hand, declared, This stone shall be a witness against us, for it has heard all the words of the Lord, and it will testify to the oath we make today. The people echoed his sentiments. As for us, we will serve the Lord our God and obey his voice. Their resolve stirred a transformative moment, a reminder of their past, an acknowledgement of the present, and hope resilient for what the future held. Tales of their forefathers lingered in their hearts. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had believed and built altars to God, each of their journeys underscored by unwavering faith. Now it was their turn to stand firm in their promises, no longer to be swayed by the fading shadows of doubt that occasionally whispered in the crevices of their minds. Upon these mountains we have witnessed the glory of the Lord, Joshua continued, and I bear witness to the faithfulness of our God who has led us from the wilderness, through trials, and into the fullness of his inheritance. Yet let us not forget, we must remain devoted to him alone. Choose this day whom you will serve. His voice rang out, fierce yet tender, appealing to their spirits. As the crowd stirred, hearts were laid bare. We will serve the Lord, they affirmed, recognizing not merely a duty, but a joyful allegiance to the one who had bestowed grace and redemption upon them. The covenant, forged anew, was not made lightly. It was a declaration, a commitment before witness to lean into the promises of God. Joshua looked upon them with the eyes of a shepherd, myriad emotions swirling as they embraced the weight of their relationship with God. I am old and gray, and I fear not for what lies ahead. My God is with you, and he will never forsake his covenant, he stated. With each word it was clear. He will lead them until his last breath, nourished by the hope surrounding them. As days passed and the victories rolled on, yet new battles arose from the conquered territories. Fear and uncertainty eventually crept back among the people, foreshadowing the turmoil of their future as they intermingled with inhabitants who worshipped false gods and practiced idolatry. Rivers of temptation began to sweep through their tents, and soon whispers of discontent echoed like chilling winds. Yet the people remembered Joshua's words. Each sunrise beckoned and reminded them of their covenant commitment. Joshua, discerning their struggle, rallied the leaders once more. Fear not, Strive toward holiness. Guard your hearts, for our enemy is not flesh and blood, but the spiritual forces of wickedness, he admonished, the fervor swelling within him. The echo of God's voice accompanied each exhortation. Amidst their trials, they learned that the struggle against their enemies mirrored a deeper conflict within, the battle between faith and fear. Many surrendered to the allure of the idols and distant comforts of peace, while others intensified their devotion, seeking God in prayer and petition. Moments of unity and praise arose, moments where they saw once more the hand of God move among them, leading them back to paths of restoration. As the years unfolded and Joshua's journey neared its close, he felt the burden of his leadership culminate, a reminder of the sacred promises made. God had gone before them, had fought for them, and through all storms was sovereign. Do not forget, he urged, what he has done. Your faithfulness will influence generations to come. Stand firm. Eventually Joshua passed away at the age of 110, a life dedicated to the service and glory of God. The legacy of his leadership left ripples of faith and obedience in the hearts of the Israelite people. They buried him in the land of his inheritance, a testament to the faithfulness of God and the importance of adhering to his path. In the quiet that followed, a nation carried forth the mantle of hope, revered and inspired by Joshua's commitment. As they gathered years after his passing, they proclaimed, "We will serve the Lord." A resounding declaration carried beyond mere words, cementing a heritage built upon the sacred promises of a powerful God. As Israel journeyed onward, each challenge morphed into a chance for triumph. The legacy crafted by Joshua echoed through time. It became evident that God had orchestrated this grand narrative not just for a people, but for every heart eager to believe, reminding them that despite trials or tribulation, his faithfulness remains forever steadfast. So, dear friends, as we close this chapter of faith, remember to walk forward in courage and hope, remaining steadfast as we serve the Lord. Our journey is called forth. Does not each challenge mold us into vessels of his love? May we carry these lessons on our hearts, propelling our own journeys with the resolve of our forebearers. If this powerful testimony has touched your spirit, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Like this video now to share his promises through the impact of God's great stories. Comment below with your own reflections. How has Joshua's journey inspired your faith? And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us bridge the light of his story to a world in need of his love.